The mandrill does not blend into the rainforest. It confronts it. Where most animals rely on camouflage to survive, the mandrill announces itself in color so intense it appears almost artificial. Its face, painted in violent reds and electric blues, is not a mistake of nature. It is a declaration. Evolution rarely wastes energy on unnecessary traits, and the mandrill's appearance is among the most energetically expensive in the primate world. Those colors require hormonal investment, health, and social status. They are signals broadcast at close range in the dim light of the forest floor, where subtle cues disappear and only the bold remain visible. The mandrill's lineage traces back through African primates adapted to life on the ground rather than in the canopy. Unlike many monkeys that flee upward at the first sign of danger, mandrills move horizontally, navigating dense undergrowth with strength and confidence. This shift reshaped their bodies. Limbs grew powerful, musculature thickened, canines lengthened into weapons not meant for hunting, but for social enforcement. Physically, the mandrill is the largest monkey species in the world. Adult males can weigh more than 3 times as much as females, an extreme example of sexual dimorphism. This size difference is not cosmetic. It reflects a social system driven by dominance, where access to food, territory, and reproduction concentrates in the hands of a few. At the center of mandrill society stands the alpha male. His colors are the brightest, his body the heaviest. His presence reshapes group behavior instantly. When he moves, others adjust. When he stares, conflicts dissolve. Dominance here is not constant violence, but constant visibility. The message is always on display. Color in mandrills functions as language. Red signifies testosterone and health. Blue amplifies contrast, making facial expressions impossible to ignore. Swollen, brightly colored ridges intensify during periods of dominance and mating opportunity, then fade when status declines. Power, in mandrill society, is not permanent. It must be maintained biologically, not just socially. These visual signals reduce the need for continuous fighting. When strength is obvious, challenges decrease. Energy is conserved. Injury is avoided. The forest is unforgiving to the wounded. Mandrills evolved a system where conflict resolves before it begins, written directly onto the body. Despite their intimidating appearance, mandrills are not constant aggressors. Much of the day is spent foraging quietly across the forest floor. Their diet is omnivorous and opportunistic: fruits, seeds, roots, insects, fungi, and small vertebrates. This dietary flexibility allows them to exploit seasonal abundance and survive scarcity. Foraging groups can grow massive, sometimes numbering in the hundreds. These temporary supergroups offer protection against predators such as leopards, but they also increase competition. Within these moving masses, social awareness is critical. Individuals must track rank, alliances, and threats simultaneously. The mandrill brain is tuned for this complexity. Communication extends beyond color. Facial expressions, posture, vocalizations, and scent marking all contribute to social regulation. A slight head tilt, a brief yawn exposing canines, or a shift in stance can alter the behavior of multiple individuals instantly. Silence, too, is a tool. A dominant mandrill rarely needs to shout. Reproduction in mandrills reflects the same imbalance seen in size and color. Alpha males sire the majority of offspring during their reign, sometimes only for a few seasons before age or injury weakens them. When dominance fades, so does color. Biology enforces honesty. There is no false advertising in this system. Females navigate this hierarchy with caution and strategy. While smaller, they possess social intelligence that stabilizes the group. They form kin-based networks, share grooming, and protect infants collectively. A mandrill infant enters a world already mapped by status and memory. Predation pressure has shaped mandrill vigilance. Leopards remain their most dangerous natural enemy. Rather than relying on speed, mandrills depend on numbers, awareness, and intimidation. A unified group presenting size and aggression can deter even powerful predators. The rainforest itself shapes mandrill behavior. Low light favors bold signals. Dense vegetation rewards strength over agility. Sound travels unpredictably, making visual dominance more reliable than vocal threats. The mandrill is a product of this environment, loud in color, heavy in presence, deliberate in motion. But the forest that shaped the mandrill is changing. As forests thin and human presence presses inward, the mandrill's social system begins to show stress fractures. A species built for dominance signaling, spatial freedom, and visual authority now finds itself compressed into shrinking territories. What once functioned as an efficient balance of power becomes volatile when space, food, and movement are constrained. Habitat fragmentation alters everything. Mandrills rely on large, continuous forest floors to support their massive foraging groups. When logging roads slice through the jungle and clearings expand, movement patterns break down. Groups are forced into narrower corridors, increasing encounters with rival groups and intensifying internal competition. Dominance displays that once prevented conflict now provoke it. Color, once a stabilizing force, becomes a pressure amplifier. In dense, crowded conditions, constant exposure to dominant signals elevates stress levels among subordinate males. Aggression increases. Injuries become more common. The social silence that once kept order gives way to tension that never fully dissipates. Hunting poses an even more direct threat. Mandrills are targeted for bushmeat not because they're easy to catch, but because their size makes them valuable. Removing a dominant male has consequences far beyond the individual. Leadership collapses instantly. Color hierarchies reset. Power vacuums trigger violent competition as younger males test boundaries prematurely. This instability affects reproduction. When dominance cycles accelerate unnaturally, mating becomes chaotic. Females face increased harassment. Infants become collateral casualties of social upheaval. A system evolved to function slowly and predictably is forced into rapid turnover it cannot biologically sustain. Noise pollution adds an invisible layer of disruption. Chainsaws, vehicles, and human activity drown out subtle auditory cues mandrills use to coordinate movement and detect danger. Visual signals compensate, but only at close range. The forest grows louder, but communication becomes less effective. Confusion replaces clarity. Despite their strength, mandrills are psychologically sensitive animals. Chronic stress alters hormone levels, dulling coloration and weakening immune response. A faded face is not merely cosmetic, it signals declining health and reduced status, further destabilizing social order. Biology, once an honest referee, begins to punish indiscriminately. Yet mandrills do not collapse easily. Their intelligence allows for limited adaptation. Some groups adjust activity patterns, becoming more nocturnal in disturbed areas. Others alter foraging routes to avoid human contact. These changes, however, come at energetic cost. Night movement increases predation risk. Longer travel burns calories that could support growth and reproduction. Ecologically, the decline of mandrills ripples outward. As major seed disperses for large fruited trees, their absence reshapes forest composition. Plants adapted to mandrill dispersal fail to regenerate effectively. Smaller animals cannot replace this role. Forest diversity narrows quietly, tree by tree. The mandrill story exposes a harsh truth about highly specialized social systems. What makes them powerful also makes them fragile. When hierarchy, signaling, and space align, efficiency is unmatched. When one element breaks, the entire structure trembles. Conservation efforts struggle with visibility. Mandrills are elusive, forest-bound, and difficult to monitor. Their decline does not occur in open savannas or coastlines where loss is easily documented. It happens under canopy, unseen. Numbers drop before alarms are raised. Protecting mandrills requires more than preserving fragments of forest. It requires scale, large, connected habitats that allow dominant systems to function naturally. Anti-poaching enforcement that prevents sudden social collapse. And time, something evolution gave mandrills, but human systems rarely do. At its core, the mandrill represents a paradox. Loud in appearance, quiet in decline. Powerful in presence, vulnerable in reality. A species built to rule its environment, now forced to negotiate survival within boundaries it did not choose. The question is no longer whether mandrills can dominate the forest. They already do. The question is whether the forest itself will remain intact enough for dominance to matter. The mandrill stands as a rare experiment in evolutionary honesty. In a world where survival often favors concealment, the mandrill evolved to broadcast truth. Its colors do not lie. They intensify with health, dominance, and hormonal strength, then fade as power wanes. There is no mask, no illusion. Biology speaks directly through the skin. This system works only under one condition: stability. Mandrill society depends on time for hierarchies to form, for dominance to be established without constant challenge, for younger males to wait rather than rush. When forests remain intact, this rhythm holds. Power changes hands slowly. Violence is minimized. The group remains cohesive. But modern disruption compresses time. Roads shorten distances. Hunting accelerates turnover. Habitat loss forces proximity. Under these pressures, honesty becomes dangerous. Bright color attracts attention not only from rivals, but from humans. What once prevented conflict now invites it. The evolutionary brilliance of the mandrill becomes its vulnerability. Color requires investment. Stress reduces it. Injury dulls it. Malnutrition erases it. As signals degrade, social clarity dissolves. Challenges increase. Fights escalate. Injuries compound. A feedback loop emerges, driven not by weakness, but by mismatch. This reveals a deeper lesson. Evolution optimizes for environments, not futures. The mandrill is perfectly adapted to a rainforest that functioned for millennia. It is not adapted to fragmentation measured in decades. No amount of intelligence or strength can compensate for the speed of loss. Yet within this vulnerability lies insight. The mandrill teaches that power does not need constant enforcement. That visibility can replace violence. That dominance, when biologically regulated, stabilizes rather than destroys. These principles echo beyond biology. They challenge assumptions about leadership, aggression, and control. From a conservation perspective, mandrills demand scale and patience. Small reserves are insufficient. Fragmented corridors fail to support their social mechanics. Protecting mandrills means preserving entire systems, forest floors, food webs, predator dynamics, and the silence required for subtle communication. Where protection succeeds, recovery follows. Groups stabilize. Dominance cycles lengthen. Color returns. Forest regeneration accelerates through seed dispersal. The system remembers how to function, waiting only for space and time. The mandrill's future is not sealed. It is conditional. Conditional on restraint. Conditional on continuity. Conditional on whether humans value ecosystems not only for what they provide, but for how they operate. In the end, the mandrill is more than the most colorful primate on Earth. It is a living argument. An argument that strength can be visible without being violent. That honesty can organize societies. That power, when aligned with biology and environment, does not need to shout. As light filters through the canopy and color ignites the forest floor, the mandrill moves forward, heavy, deliberate, unmistakable. Not hiding, not retreating, simply existing as it always has, waiting to see whether the world around it will allow truth to remain visible.